So let's go ahead and get started with the Logan Paul hasn't changed. And I'm pretty sure that he's gonna maybe talk. Like, I can already see from this first frame that there's something to do with the goddamn Pikachu. Um, and God, that has been a point of like conversation for a little bit now. So let's see what it's about. Thank you, Pyro.
Listing it for $5 million instead of the $5.3 million I bought it for. So basically, I'll be giving you guys $300,000 discounts because everyone
Bro,
likes
it's
this.
still
Boys
so
will be
crazy he
boys, and
paid
Logan
that
was
much
really
for
perked
it.
up.
You will write the check right now.
Yes.
You got the funds?
He fell off.
Logan Paul's a very interesting character because despite having numerous controversies, he always seems to bounce back. Him and KSI own 20%.
How is that? Like, if we're to be complete, well, hold on. But before I say that, let me think real quick. Let me use my actual brain. He wasn't like a freaking YouTuber at first, right? He was like an actual celebrity. Am I right? Am I wrong? Like, wasn't he a Disney person? Because like that, I feel like that kind of stands for some of the immunity, but I still feel like he shouldn't be this immune, especially not with everything he's done. Like, I mean, come on, guys, we can't keep platforming him.
Shares in the Prime Drink Company, which a couple of years ago was being sold in every single supermarket, dragging poor parents out at 5 in the morning so their kids could buy a bottle, drink it, and then
I
flex
still
about
see
it
it
on
in the
Snapchat.
stores.
Now, Logan was always the biggest person to promote
never
Prime.
tried
He's
it.
done skydiving, insane promotions. He even did this weird sponsored ad with Zach D Films that was a paid promotion. That was a very interesting video, to say the least.
If you drank an ungodly amount of milk, would you get super buff because of the protein?
What the
That's
fuck?
how he probably looks in his head, right?
Well, milk is actually full of sugar,
Actually, semi-skimmed milk, it doesn't actually have as much sugar as full-fat milk.
which will make you fat in large
So that's why you wanted me to click on it. He does actually look a little bit like Queso and KSI as well, despite owning his own 20% share of Prime. He
Not Queso catching a stray, bro.
hasn't really promoted that much. I think he's too busy as a middle-aged man trying to become a hilarious comedian.
6-7! 6-7! 6-7!
Grown man, by the way, chat. I'm gonna just leave it there.
Now, Logan has had a lot of controversy, but he's managed to basically redeem himself in the majority of the public eye by, statements, apologies, growing and changing. But one thing that seems to constantly follow Logan around is the accusations of scams. And we now have a new one to add to that list. So quite a long time ago, he bought the most expensive...
Hold on, what do you mean a new one? We already knew that or at least I would hope people would automatically assume this was gonna be a scam anyway. Like, it definitely will be. Like, I get to own a fraction of a card? A fraction of a card? You're gonna turn a physical item into an NFT? Like, get out of here, Rat. Get out of here with that.
single Pokemon card in the world, which was estimated to be around $5 million. And then he basically used that to make more money as an investment
they
to
took for
promote
that.
an NFT
He looks so
where you could buy
goofy.
shares of the card. You weren't buying the physical card, you were just buying portions of the card that was dangling around Logan Paul's neck for some reason. Now, despite that, they never actually finished making the site, and then he actually bought the card back for $250,000 so he could then sell it on a Netflix show. Now, that's not really that surprising, to be honest, because, I mean, both the Paul brothers, Jake and Logan, they've had a lot of time on.
So what happened to everybody that bought a piece of that card? If he bought it back for $250,000, $250,000 is not anywhere near 5.3 million. Is that just how much they sold of it? Was that everything? Do we have stats? I'm gonna look up stats after stream. I'm I'm gonna see if I can find anything on that personally.
TV. Like there was this amazing TV series, Paul American, which at the time of recording is sitting on 2.8 out of 10 on IMDb. So you know it is just riveting content. And then if you look at the promotional art for this amazing series, you've got Logan Paul's chest that has been edited so much, it basically now just looks like an elbow. Why have they edited him like that? I mean, I'll be honest, it looks like that Captain America image that went around the internet that was drawn by the artist Liefeld because people just thought the anatomy was so off. I mean, look at this. If you look side by side with this and Logan Paul, it's basically the same image. Now, if you've kept up to date or you've watched CoffeeZilla's slop channel, Voidzilla, you probably know about the Cryptozoo situation. This is basically like an NFT blockchain game where users could buy NFTs or eggs that would hatch and breed into hybrid animals and then could be sold on the platform. Logan promoted this heavily while getting into the crypto game, you know, getting a lot of people to then invest in it. And then the platform basically never came together. There were development deadlines that keep being missed, and the actual playable game never came about, and the value of the NFT and tokens in that game completely collapsed despite the fact people buying into it in the first place to get their foot in the door. And again, this was massively exposed by CoffeeZilla, bringing everything to light, and then Logan made...
We've learned, right? We've learned. Yeah, I know we haven't, but I can hope we've learned by now. Especially with the recent thing with like the what was it, the old NYC mayor, right? We've learned. Hawk to a coin. We've learned. Save the kid. We've learned, right?
a video basically denying any wrongdoing and then saying he was going to sue CoffeeZilla. But then shortly after, he then made a video taking everything back and apologizing, saying he's going to set a buyback program up. And he was actually still going to follow through with Cryptozoo, which at the time of recording, it still hasn't happened. Now, one of the more underrated crypto scams he did that kind of went under the radar was Dink Donk, which was basically a shit coin, which means a garbage coin, that was promoted all the way back in 2021.
What up, Dink Doink Telegram? It's me, Logan Paul. Now I know what you're thinking.
Dink
Logan,
Doink.
what the fuck are you doing here? I'm doing the same thing as you. Holding my doink. That's what I'm doing. This is a shit coin I believe in. It's my favorite one, to be honest. Dink Doink is so much more than a meme coin. It's a multimedia coin. Cartoon meets crypto. It's the blockchain, baby.
And it also had this amazing
It's
music
a
video to go
blockchain,
along with it.
baby.
Dink doink, you're my favorite coin. Want you to dink on my face, take a doink on my chest.
Now, in a minute, if you go onto that video and look at the comments, the top comment will actually say, "I come back every time I feel like a failure." I think Logan Paul is the perfect example of anyone can be successful. Every 1,000 failures you have, they'll only remember you for the successful one. And again, like most coins started by e-celebs, this was just a complete rug pull. The value plummeted after its release, and then people apparently found wallets that were linked to Logan that received large amounts of tokens and then sold near their peak. Also, Logan apparently didn't disclose that he was given the tokens early, and he pretty much got away with a complete rug pull here. Now, not a lot of people talked about this, and it didn't actually get anywhere near as much traction as the Cryptozoo stuff, and he didn't even really address it since. You may also remember that him and Jake Paul took the life decision of moving to Puerto Rico and then
They
tried to
did do
pretend
that.
that it wasn't just for tax benefits, even recently buying a $32 million mansion there as well. And then at one point, Logan Paul bought a pet pig, and apparently people tried to confirm that the pig was basically just used for content and then abandoned, and then it was rescued by an animal sanctuary.
A pig that once belonged to Logan Paul was abandoned in a field and rescued by an animal sanctuary. Gentle Barn posted a video saying that it picked up Pearl the pig after she was quote, irresponsibly rehomed. The sanctuary said Pearl was found next to a dead pig and suffered from tattered ears and an infection in her uterus. Gentle Barn said since the video, Logan thanked them for taking Pearl in. Logan allegedly surrendered Pearl to a horse ranch in 2020 when he moved to Puerto Rico, according to TMZ. But Pearl is all good. The barn says she's filled with friends, nutritious foods, the highest quality care, and so much love.
Now, we've gone over the Game of Thrones episode recap, but the most recent drama that Logan's in
You know, pigs might low-key be a filthy animal, but god dang are they cute. They are so cute too. That's upsetting to hear. That is actually upsetting to hear.
involved himself in is the fight with Bradley Martin. Basically, Logan and Bradley had claimed that they got into a fight in Bradley's gym, which Logan then discussed on his podcast, but then claimed that there were no cameras around when they did it. And then other influencers and fighters weighed in, you know, giving their opinions on the fight. And then there was no footage of this fight. They all confirmed that until Logan leaked the fight on Instagram. And again, it was a great bamboozle to the surprise of absolutely no one. It was another Prime shill, but this time it was a ad for Prime Protein, which is a drink with 32 grams of protein in it. Again, because
when did they do a when did they do a protein? What? I've seen the plastic bottle. I've seen the metal can. Those are the only two things that I've seen it in Lunchly. Where did this come from?
Everyone is obsessed with protein. It's basically just the complete antithesis of sugar, which again, I saw on stream, unfortunately, mostly because I was paid to see it.
It's given to calves and babies to literally fatten them up. But if you
Yeah, apparently babies need milk. I learned that from 28 years later.
pass the milk through a collection of special membranes, the smaller molecules like sugar slip through and collect on one side. And the larger molecules like protein are too big to pass through, so they stay behind in the milk, which makes it super high in protein.
Wow.
Add in vitamins, minerals, and your own signature flavorings, you basically end up with a muscle-building super milk. But that would be a lot of work, so you should just...
Dude, did Logan reach out to you and say, can you make my pecs like as big as possible? I just want to be in my shorts so everyone can appreciate my muscles.
So you should just get a Prime Shake instead.
I think the sad thing about this is as well that like kind of Logan even knows that even though KSI owns the same amount of shares that he does, KSI's kind of fell off a little bit now. He tried that rage bait music, beefing with Dan TDM, but you know, they can't really have any beef anymore because if you remember with KSI and Logan, they were saying that they were going to have like the final battle, the final rematch. And then it was just them, you know, glazing each other and promoting Prime. And they've just done the exact same thing here. So going back over the Pokemon card situation, Carl Jobst actually released a video going into more detail on it. So in July of 2022, Logan actually claimed to have bought the most expensive card in the world, a PSA 10 Pikachu Illustrator. And he made the purchase in this video called I Bought the World's Most Expensive Pokemon Card. And obviously that video was just a way to make more money and it was just a complete shill for this promotion company called Liquid Marketplace. And then Liquid Marketplace is a company that allows you to buy fractions of expensive collectibles. And you can build a portfolio despite the portfolio not being physical in any way, and you can then sell it on the platform. It really is a scary equivalent of you will own nothing and be happy. It's kind of like buying stocks, but instead of buying, you know, partial ownership in a company, you're buying partial ownership of a Pokemon card.
What's up, y'all? Logan.
How many people actually even use the site? Like, anytime I ever hear about it, it's only because it's in conversation with that dang Pokemon card. No other reason. No other reason. Like, I don't hear it about, like, any other item ever. It's only ever in reference to that Pokemon card. So, like, clearly it can't be that popular, right?
Here, as an avid collector and strategic investor myself, I am so stoked to announce the launch of Liquid Marketplace, a platform where collectors can buy and sell fractions of rare collectibles via tokens on the blockchain. As a co-founder of Liquid Marketplace, I believe we're set to level the playing field by allowing anyone to own a piece of the world's rarest collectibles and build their portfolios instantly. Here's how it works. Liquid Marketplace will curate a collection of highly sought after
Did he say
items
earlier in the video that it was like
where users can buy in to be a partial owner. We'll keep
taken
the
down?
collectibles safe in our Liquid Marketplace vault, and when you're ready, you can buy, sell, and trade your portion of ownership with other members.
Or at least that's what you would think the company was supposed to do. But just like Cryptozoo, again, it never came to fruition.
Oh, okay.
Now, something to note
Never
about the
mind.
card going ahead, we don't actually know how much it was bought
Never
for
even
because, again,
happened.
it was
Okay.
a private sale. I mean, in the video, you can actually see him receiving a Guinness World Record for the sale, which are famously, and it's been shown multiple times, are not real records.
And just in case it needs to be said, no, Guinness are not a real record-keeping organization. They're a novelty book company. It's already a pretty common joke that most of their records are just silly stuff someone made up so they can have a record. Like, most baseball bats broken in 1 minute. That's a silly one I just made up now. Just kidding, it's real.
Now, Logan announced that he was going to list the card on Liquid Marketplace for users to buy ownership of the card in, and that he would retain 49% ownership, and then the 51% would be available as purchase tokens. Now, even though he would own a minority percentage, he would probably still own the majority by, percentage alone, unless, one other person bought the other 51%, which obviously wasn't going to happen. Now, he claims that he paid $5.3 million for this card, so he listed it for $5 million, saying he's giving a $300,000 discount.
I'll also be listing it for $5 million instead of the $5.3 million.
It's only
I
worth
bought
what
it for.
people are
So
willing to
basically, I'll be
pay.
giving you guys $300,000 discounts because everyone likes discounts. And I should say this, I'll be retaining 49% ownership of the cards.
And he also describes the process of how these collectibles become tradable in 2 phases. Phase 1, the company makes the asset available for sale. People buy ownership in the asset through tokens. And then phase 2, the asset is then put on the marketplace and users can then buy and sell tokens between each other. But then this only happens if the initial offering is sold in the first phase.
There are 2 phases when offering an asset, with the first being the initial offering. This is where the platform sells its equity to the public in the form of tokens. So in this case, in July 2022, LMP begins the offering phase. During this phase, people may buy ownership in the asset, and they are buying directly from LMP. This is phase 1. If and only if all of the initial offering is sold, they move to phase 2. Phase 2 is where the asset is put on the marketplace, where token holders may buy and sell tokens between one another.
But now, I did say that he does own the majority technically, but if he has less than 50%, that basically means that the holders of the token actually do have a majority control of what happens to it. If it's sold, or if it's put through auction, or even through a vote. Obviously, that would mean that every single person that bought it would all have to agree to go against Logan, but that is still a possibility. And then in July 2024, the Ontario Securities Commission brought proceedings against Liquid Marketplace. Carl goes through these proceedings and then details exactly why they're alleged against the Liquid Marketplace. So what he's claiming is they lied about how many tokens are actually being sold. Liquid Marketplace claimed that $2.55 million worth of Logan's cards sold, but the OSC actually says that they only sold $2.7 million of tokens total. Now, Liquid Marketplace did actually have other collectible trading on their site that would have been worth way more than $2.7 million.
LMP listed many other collectibles as well. For example, a PSA 8 Pikachu illustrator with a total value of $1.1 million, which also apparently sold out. We know it was supposed to have sold out because it was trading on the marketplace, which only happens once all of the initial offering is sold.
That means that there were assets listed for trading that weren't supposed to be allowed for trade, since, they never would have sold the initial offering.
In a nutshell, LMP lied to the public by telling them that all of the tokens had been sold when they hadn't, and then moved the collectibles to the marketplace when only a fraction of the actual tokens had been purchased. The reason for lying about this is pretty obvious. The truth is that not enough people were interested in purchasing these stupid tokens to buy out an entire collectible.
These platforms basically make money by taking a fee when items are traded. So if none of their assets are sold out, then they can't actually put anything up for trade. So if that doesn't happen, the entire model instantly falls apart. Now, they're also accused of perpetuating fraud on the investors of the company, from whom they raised $10 million for. Now, originally, they said that they only took $100,000 salaries one time in 2022. But then they actually paid themselves hundreds of thousands of dollars each in salaries, and also paid themselves millions of dollars of the investment money through shell companies that they owned. Again, shell companies, if you don't know, just imagine the big oil rig in Metal Gear Solid 5, the Phantom Pain, but it's just full of money, and it's in a different country, so there are tax benefits. Most people that are incredibly rich usually have shell companies. They're just fake companies that they put a bunch of money into to basically semi-legally dodge tax.
Originally,
Again, I just want to ask how he keeps getting away with this, every single project that he quote unquote launches has been so shady and so bad, and people still line up to throw money at him. What?
These 3 gentlemen lied to the OSC, claiming that they only received a salary of around $100,000 each, and only for 1 year, in 2022. But after further investigation, the OSC uncovered that these 3 individuals paid themselves hundreds of thousands of dollars in salaries each, and extracted millions from LMP to companies they owned. From everything I've seen, it's hard to tell if the real fraud was only supposed to be the initial capital these guys raised and then used to enrich themselves.
And since then, Liquid Marketplace was basically just completely abandoned by the owners. And their last social media post was from September 2023. And most users are just saying, like in the comments, they've lost everything. But again, why am I talking about Logan Paul now if this happened years ago? Are the slot mines really that dry? To answer your question, yes. But also, new things have happened
They aren't
recently.
that dry,
So
Pyro.
December last year,
Come
which
on.
was, you know, less than a month ago.
You know
because
they
we're
aren't
only
that
in
dry.
January at the minute. Netflix released a 3-part series called King of Collectibles, The Golden Touch. And then in episode 3, Logan sells his PSA 10 Pikachu illustrator to a guy called Ken Golden, who's the CEO of Golden Auctions.
You will write the check right now.
Yes.
You got the funds?
I'd have to, of course.
I have to say, my heart tells me to do this deal with you, and so I will do the deal with you.
Great.
Now, this card was supposedly meant to be owned majority by the Liquid Marketplace token holders. And remember, part of their ownership meant that they could get to decide who the card is sold to, not Logan, because again, he owns a huge chunk, 49%, but technically he doesn't own the majority. So it should be down to everyone else to come up with a group decision. Logan obviously got a lot of backlash for this. Unfortunately for Logan, he is one of the richest people in the world for his age, doing incredibly well. But on Twitter, he fell off.
He fell off. He really did fall off.
He
It's
fell
funny
off.
because even Logan, with like his eternal reach, his business success, even he knows not to mess with Twitter because he's fell off, and he just basically always turns off replies, so you can't even snide him anyway. So you're just reduced to like quote tweeting him. So Logan opens up the statement by saying, "I think there's someone hanging right." As you may know, the PSA 10 Pikachu illustrator was previously listed on Liquid Marketplace, where users could purchase tokens that, according to the company, represented fractional ownership interests in the card. You can really tell a lawyer basically wrote this for him. These are too many big words. Notice how he says as well, according to the company, because at this point, the proceedings are already taking place. So Logan would know that the tokens don't actually represent any legal ownership. Logan also says that he repurchased the card in May 2024, and that purchase was consistent with the platform's terms, and that partial owners would have actually received payment for that buyout. Now, you can understand why people would be annoyed by this, you know, fraud aside, since buying the card back basically defeats the entire purpose of the platform and people feeling like they actually had ownership of it. And it really doesn't make sense, as someone who says that himself really cares about the collectible industry.
I do care about the collectible industry. And
I mean, it kind of goes both ways. It's like, first of
I
all,
love
you bought
fucking lie
something from Logan
detector
Paul and then you
sound.
expected to actually get something back in return. You know, there's a pretty consistent trend here of that not happening to people. Now, Carl then goes back and he looks at the terms of the website, which say that Logan shouldn't really be able to buy back the card, since that Liquid Marketplace, you know, they actually retain ownership over an asset unless the individual owns 100%. And as we know, Logan doesn't own 100%. He owns 49%.
It says that when the owner of a collectible, called the collector, lists an item on the marketplace, it gets placed into the name of a wholly owned subsidiary of LMP, called the custodian, pursuant to a custody agreement. So the entire collectible gets put into the name of a
So
subsidiary
he's
of LMP.
just
which means that now
bypassing
LMP has full control over
the
the entire
whole
asset.
thing.
It then says that when you purchase a token and become a token holder, you shall be deemed to have entered into that custody.
He's just again doing things his way and not really caring about anything else, and you know, going against whatever was promised or whatever is written down. God, I love patterns. I love patterns.
The agreement for that collectible. And what does the custody agreement entail? Well, the custody agreement states that neither the collector nor an individual token holder will have the right to take possession of the collectible or direct the custodian in any manner whatsoever, unless an individual acquires sole ownership of the tokens associated with the collectible. So unless you own 100% of the tokens of a collectible, LMP retains complete control over it. Therefore, the terms expressly stated that Logan had no power to simply buy his card back.
But what Logan did in his very crafty, schemy ways, he used a loophole. And that loophole is in the terms of service of Liquid Marketplace. You know, like when you boot up Warzone or something and it'll come with this like code of conduct, like, can you please just not scream the N-word in our lobbies and like we'll let you play the game, all those boxes you got to tick. Logan had one of those terms of services. It was very, very long, and it also included something saying a buyout, which basically allowed Logan to buy back 100% of the card without the permission of the token holders, as long as he buys enough tokens to then meet that buyout threshold, which again is completely determined by the company.
Logan still owned 49% of the card, so all LMP would need to do is make the buyout threshold less than 49%, which they can do whenever they want. And then LMP can simply allow Logan to exercise a buyout at their discretion. And there is not a single thing the other token holders can do about it, which, as we will find out, is exactly what happened.
So Logan told the site Collect,
So
which basically
he
talks
had
about,
his own way
collectibles,
out.
art pieces, that kind of thing, that he bought the card back for 250,000
So
USD.
instead of going against
which
what
is
was
far
written,
less
he
than
just
5
wrote
million it was
himself
listed for on
a
the site. And again,
scapegoat.
if you do the math, that's just 10%
He wrote
of
himself an
$2.5 million
exit.
in tokens that were supposedly sold. But unfortunately, it was accused that Liquid Marketplace was lying about how many tokens were sold. So it's impossible to know.
Dude, this is just so frustrating. Like, this whole thing is so frustrating to just, like, hear about, to just keep seeing pop up on my feed. Like, oh my god. What are we doing? I'm starting to lose hope.
How much more money they actually made from selling those tokens. So Carl, in his video, basically gives two possible situations. If Logan thought that all the tokens were sold, he would have bought the card fully, thinking that him and the company are basically pocketing $2.25 million of users' money. The other possibility is that Logan knew how few tokens were actually sold, which is why he felt comfortable buying it back for so little. But again, the terms of service on Liquid Marketplace state that they can decide how much the buyout costs. So whether or not Logan knew how many tokens were sold, Liquid Market.
So wait, on top of that, that's why he got such a steep discount on it. They can decide how much it's worth. Oh my god. Oh my god. You can't, like, make this up. Dude, this is ridiculous. Everybody just got scammed. He is just so good at scamming and then pretending nothing happened. And when he has to, like, fess up to it, he says anything to get out of it and everybody trusts him. Dude, we can't keep doing this. Please. Please. I'm losing hope. I am losing hope.
Place could technically have sold it for, you know, $1 essentially. That being said, it's Logan. He's a businessman. He knows how the world works. He definitely played Fable 3 and just picked all the bad options when he was king to get as much money.
Don't call him a businessman. He's a scammer. Call him a scammer. He is a scammer. Please. Don't give him that credit. Like, what?
Is possible.
Don't repeat his mistakes.
The factory will be reopened as it was.
And it is very unlikely that Logan actually wasn't aware of how much money the tokens made, since, again, he would have received some of that money. And, as well, if you go on the listings of the website, he is a co-founder. Now, later in his statement, Logan does admit that the company faced regulatory scrutiny after his buyout of the card, which is most likely not true, as the investigation was going on long before he bought back the card, basically trying to chalk it up as like, I'm getting a lot of hate right now just because it's me, Logan Paul. But obviously it was stemming way before any of this actually came to light.
You know,
LMP
co-founded
wasn't
a
oblivious
company,
to the
so you're
fact
gonna get
they were
paid
being
by that company
investigated.
when you
According to
buy
the
it
complaint,
back.
It states clearly that over the course of the commission's investigation.
So hold on. Dude, he got a discount on buying it back. But he got an even heavier discount because what he bought back is going to go right back into his pocket. Or at least a percentage of it is. Dude,
Each
gets
of the
worse.
LMP
It only
principals
gets
attended
worse.
compelled
It only
interviews
gets
under oath.
worse.
So they were actively being investigated and being forced into depositions throughout the investigation. So they were well aware of what was going on.
But since his buyout was actually before the proceedings were released, he can claim that he actually made his buyout without any knowledge of the company's misdeeds. And then he can basically do what every rich person does, blame everyone around him but himself. So again, this is just a complete repeat of the Cryptozoo situation where he launched the platform, talked about how heavily
all
involved
he's gonna
he is
do.
because he's the face of it, again, much like Prime, the drink. You wouldn't buy that if you saw it on shelves. You bought it because it was the funny KSI drink or the funny Logan Paul drink. Two of the smartest people in the world. Also, as well, most recently, Logan and Ken Golden, the guy that I mentioned before that was like, you know, he was selling the card to, they're facing backlash for reholdering the card while it's at auction. So they're basically modifying the card when it hasn't even been sold yet.
I got some news for you. I want to show you something. You look at the holder.
Oh, is that a new slab?
That is a brand new 2026 PSA slab, examined today.
So what's the moral of this video?
Why is he
I
soy
kinda need
jacking?
to hit my protein goals,
Or
so
woe
I might buy
jacking?
the Prime
I don't
protein
fucking know.
drink.
Why is he doing that, bro? Why is he acting so surprised? Oh my god. That was frustrating. Oh. Like, oh my god. Whoa. Look over there. Dude. This is just so upsetting to hear about. It's okay.